Imagine all the people living life in peace. Turn to the person next to you and say, one people, one planet, under love. You might think that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. You may think that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. You may think that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Helen Keller years ago said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. It's very easy to get lost in the darkness, to get lost in the confusion, to get lost in the intense distractions that are social media and that are news and that are fear and everything that's in the collective atmosphere. But in those moments, it's important to recognize all it takes is one candle to annihilate darkness. All it takes is one moment of courage to annihilate fear. All it takes is one person who is willing to stand up for the best in us. A few days ago, I wrote on my Facebook page some rules of engagement for this time. And the first one is don't let the worst in them bring out the worst in you. Whatever you're facing, whoever you're facing, whatever the challenge, remember that within each one of us, just as we've seen tonight in the incredible music and the incredible stories and just the spirit, that which is within us is always greater than that which is outside us, if we will remember to access that which is inside us. One of my favorite poems is by the poet Christopher Fry, English playwright. Written almost 80 years ago, it speaks to our time powerfully. It begins like this. It says, the human heart can go to the lengths of God. The human heart can go to the lengths of God. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. Dark and cold we may be, but this is no winter now. The frozen misery of centuries cracks, breaks, begins to move. The thunder is the thunder of the flow, the flood, the upstart spring. And here's my favorite line. Fry continues, he says, thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, never to leave us till we take the longest strides of soul folk ever took. I love that. Thank God our time is now. Now. Climate change, political craziness, educational chaos, existential angst. Thank God our time is now. When wrong comes up to meet us everywhere, anybody notice wrong coming up to meet us? Never to leave us, it's not going to leave. Because its purpose is much deeper than we realize. Its purpose is to call us forth to the best we are. Anybody ever gone through a rough time? Anybody ever gone through a rough time and then later on you realize that rough time was a blessing? Because what that rough time did is it called forth something in you that you didn't know was there. It called forth strength, it called forth courage, it called forth compassion. It called forth setting boundaries, it called forth saying no, it called forth standing up. What is being called forth in you right now? In the larger circumstance of our nation and our world, what is being called forth in you? Is cowardice being called forth in you? Is fear being called forth in you? Or is courage being called forth in you? Is intolerance being called forth in you? Or is compassion being called forth in you? What is being called forth? Because ultimately, I personally believe that's all that matters. Thank God our time is now, when wrong comes up to meet us everywhere. Never to leave us. That's the kicker. Till we take the longest strides of soul folk ever took. And then Fry ends it. He says, affairs are now soul-sized. The adventure, exploration into God. Then he says, what are you making for? It takes so many thousand years to wake. But will you wake for pity's sake? Imagine that. Humanity's taken thousands of years to get to this point where we're right on the threshold of recognizing we're one people, one planet under love. And there's only one thing in the way. One thing in the way. And believe it or not, it's not even a person. It may take the form of a person in this moment. It's not a person. America the Beautiful, last line. Crown our good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Brotherhood, sisterhood. Crown our good with the realization that we the people is really about all of the people, not some of the people. Crown our good with the recognition that we are one, that we might believe that we're different, we have different colors and creeds and all that, but basically all we are is sunshine in a spacesuit. But we've forgotten that we're the sunshine and we identify with the suit. So we think the suit is real. The suit is only the external expression of the sunshine. But imagine how many thousands of years humanity has gotten to get to this moment in history where we're right on the threshold. Greatest transformation in the whole of human history. The evolution into what Thomas Berry called the Ecozoic era, where human beings would live in an ecological civilization in harmony with the biosphere. And yet there's this one little thing that keeps holding us back. The one thing manifesting in a person or people, but the one thing is basically this core illusion that you and I are somehow separate, that we are not made of the same stuff, that a single heart does not beat through all of us. Because when you recognize that as Meister, I, thou. Who was it, I, thou? Buber, yeah, thank you, Martin Buber. When you recognize that we are all one, and to love you is to love me, and to hate you is to hate me, and why should I hate myself? Because that only creates more pain for all of us. When we wake up to that one realization on a planetary level, as more and more people are waking up to now than ever before, we realize that's who we really are. Then we can break down all the false barriers. We can look in the eyes of the other and see only love. We can look in the eyes of the other and see only God. We can look in the eyes of the other and see only good, no matter how it might be manifesting in the moment. And then, do you realize we could be on the threshold of a planetary transformation that's never been seen before in the history of humanity? And that transformation occurs when every one of us wakes up to that truth that we are one. Just like I think in the Baha'i, there's this beautiful phrase, flowers in one garden. You know, or we can look at the different religions as different fingers on the hand, which you get to the center of the hand, which is the heart. They're all the same. Every spiritual teaching, no matter where it comes from, comes to this core realization. At the core of our being is good. At the core of our being is love. At the core of our being, we are one. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You know, that song written all those years ago still nowadays resonates because it carries an essential truth. The beautiful prayer and poem of Rumi 800 years ago still resonates because it carries an essential truth. The prayers of the Sufis still resonate. The prayers of the monks still resonate. Why? Because this core essential truth. And you know what we say? You know it's true. We can't stop love. Can't stop it. It is moving as an evolutionary force through every one of us towards one people, one planet under love. And no matter what anybody says or does, it can't be stopped. And it's important that we remember that when you go out tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Remember that this love, this essential goodness, this truth of who and what we are is greater than any force that will ever come across it. And if we look in the entire arc of history, we see that over and over and over again. And we also see over and over and over again those forces of darkness, of evil, of fear that attempt to stop it. But you know what? We are moving towards one people, one planet under love. Now we might have a rough time getting there. That's our destination. And I would invite you as you go out from here and into the rest of the world, and you remember what we explored tonight, that each one of us has the capacity and the power in each moment to choose. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Holly, you told me you had 10 minutes. It might take a little bit longer. Please forgive me. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl in concentration camp. Viktor Frankl on his way to the gas chamber. Everybody on his way as far as they knew. Viktor Frankl noticed that even there were two kinds of people. There were people who capitulated to the circumstance, gave up for dead, and fell into hopelessness. But there were others. There were others that he observed who, even in that most horrific of human situations, chose to share their food with others. They chose to comfort others. They chose to love others. They chose to bring the best that they were to every moment, every instant, every relationship. Well, the way I think about it, if Frankl could do that, and he observed people doing that, if prisoners of war, we've seen research on this, POWs who kept themselves sane by imagining playing the piano or playing the guitar or playing tennis or their friends at home or whatever, their loved ones, they focused their mind. If Nelson Mandela, 26 years in prison, can be in prison for 26 years and keep his eyes on the prize, so the moment he was released, he was ready to transform South Africa. What can we do? How can we focus our own minds, our own attention, our own action, our own words in the midst of whatever we're facing to still call forth the best in us? I believe when we do that, then we can honor those phrases of Catherine Lee Bates in No America the Beautiful when she says, crown your good with brotherhood, crown your good with sisterhood, crown your good with a recognition of our common humanity. And perhaps then, America the Beautiful will become America the reality. Thank you.